Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the second episode of Listen to Your Heart. The Bachelor presents Listen to Your Heart. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and click that bell notification so you don't miss out on when I post. So without further ado, let's get into the breakdown. Okay, so we first start off with Chris Harrison telling everybody that new girls are going to be arriving because now it's just an even match with A guys and A girls. So the fact that new girls are arriving puts pressure on the girls because the guys have the rose this episode around. And I'm like, wow. So this is like Bachelor in Paradise meets music. So we're on the dates and Jamie gets the date card and she asks out Trevor. And I'm like, no, why would you ask him out? No, it's bad enough that you picked him over Ryan, but now you're gonna ask him out on a date? No, especially with what we saw about how he's gonna be like, ooh, talking about cheating and how that Natasha, she's gonna come in and talk about it. I was like, no, girl, don't do it. But she did it anyway. So they go to Venice Beach and they're supposed to be working on a song list so that they can perform it at Venice Beach together. And here's the thing that kind of irritates me just a little bit. So every time, like when she was working with Ryan and now when she's working with Trevor, the guys always adjust to her. And she's like, oh, they always make me feel comfortable. But then I was like, but what do you bring to the table, Jamie? Do you try to make them feel comfortable? Like, what do you bring to the table, okay? It feels like she's always in these relationships where the guy's always giving, and I'm not seeing any reciprocal nature. They start kissing, and then they sing, and then they kiss again, but they're really singing. And Jamie's like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect guy. Little does she know what's gonna happen back at the house. So Bree gets the date card, and she takes Chris. And here's my biggest issue, right? So there are new girls in the house. We get Natasha, and then we end up getting two other girls. But my whole thing is, if you're bringing new girls in, usually what they do or what they've done in Bachelor in Paradise is that they give the new girls the date cards. It makes no sense to give Bree a date card when she and Chris are solid and they're only talking to each other. You feel what I'm saying? Because people that don't know where they are in their relationship don't have the dates. They can't further the relationship on a one-on-one level without people like pulling one another away from each other. So I was very upset with the producer's decision to give not only Jamie the date card, but also Bree. I was like, why are you doing this? It makes no sense. So anyway, on this date, Bree and Chris go to a guitar store, and Bree's like, oh my goodness, there are guitars everywhere. And I was like, well, it is a guitar store. So shouldn't you have expected that? Yeah, you should have. So while Bree and Chris are at the guitar store, they end up freestyling and singing a little bit, and you can see their relationship is really, really strong. So we don't even have to worry about their relationship. The next date we see is Sheridan, and Sheridan takes Julia, and they're going to iHeartRadio, and they're gonna sing live on air. Live on air. So once again, this date I actually thought was important to have. Not for Sheridan, but for Julia, because Julia's been torn between Sheridan, Brandon, and some other guy that I can't even remember. So it was good for Julia to have that time with Sheridan, and I really, really, really wanted her to be with Sheridan. And Sheridan's just such a great guy, so I wanted this to work out for him. So anyway, they sing on air, they sound great together, and I was like, yes, secure this match. Little did I know. Next date, we have Savannah gets the date card and she takes Brandon. And at this point, we're going to see that Mel is very upset by this because Mel also liked Brandon. So anyway, Savannah and Brandon go to a jazz club. They end up singing and I was like, oh, this was not the song for you. But then they're talking about focusing on each other, and it seems that Savannah and Brandon are building that relationship and that they probably will be a pair. So let's talk about what happens at the house while all these dates are taking place. So the first thing is that Natasha shows up. Natasha shows up, she's beautiful, she's gorgeous. And she shows up wanting to meet everybody. She's like, is this everybody? And they're like, no, you're actually missing Jamie and Trevor. And she was like, oh, Trevor? Trevor from American Idol Trevor? That Trevor? And they're like, yeah, do you know him? And she's like, I actually know some tea about Trevor. And we're like, oh, tea? You know some tea? Okay, producers, y'all work harder than Kris Jenner. First of all, I love, and I just have to mention that she sings in both French and Spanish. I was like, get it, girl, you better. She tells everyone that Trevor has a history of indiscretions because Trevor was dating her best friend at the time and ended up cheating on her. So then when Jamie and Trevor finally show up from their magical date, she is a straight shooter and she pulls Trevor aside. She's like, I need to talk to you. I was like, yes, straight shooter. Now I understand Jamie was like, what's going on? What is going on with this girl? Which I'm going to talk about later. But I loved how Natasha was like, okay, so were you cheating or were you not cheating? And he was like, well, I wouldn't say physical, but emotional cheating was definitely a thing. But I don't really... And she's like, oh, so you were cheating, period. I was like, yes, emotional cheating is still cheating. Good job. Thank you, Natasha. Jamie and Trevor need to talk because obviously Jamie's friends have told her that Natasha says that Trevor has a history of cheating. So Jamie and Trevor are talking about the allegations. Because Jamie has been cheated on before, she says, this is a deal breaker if you've cheated. And so he tells her, I have emotionally cheated before. And instead of saying, oh, well, this is a deal breaker, I'm gonna go, she kisses him. She proceeds to kiss him and just ignore what she just told him about cheating and being a deal breaker. And I'm like, girl, what is wrong with you? This is the part that makes me really start not liking Jamie. Actually, no, I didn't like Jamie when she didn't pick Ryan at the last episode, but this, I was like, Jamie, no. Because the thing is, here's my thing, right? It's called insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You have a history of every guy you've been with cheating on you. And this guy is telling you that he's cheated on you. And you don't want to be with the cheater. Yet, you still want to have a relationship with him because... Is it because you don't think emotional cheating is that big of a deal? This is how you get yourself into these situations, girl. I'm not saying it's your fault, but you need to think about these things. So the last two girls that show up are Mariana and Ruby. And at this point, a lot of people are from Texas. So I'm like, is everybody from Texas? I mean, I'm not complaining. I just need to know, okay? It always seems that the Bachelor franchise picks Texas heavy. And I mean, we get the right stuff. So at the house, we see that there is this three-way pull between Brandon. So Mel likes Brandon, Savannah likes Brandon, and Julia, who was just on an amazing date with Sheridan, is also still really interested in Brandon. And Julia, in fact, tells Sheridan that she still needs to explore her relationship with Brandon. And while I'm like, I get it, you don't want to rush in anything, I was like, but Sheridan's amazing, and Brandon, I was like, no, why? We're already at the cocktail party. Woo! So... as I already said, the newcomers did not get date cards. And because of that, newcomers are now having to work really hard to get that one-on-one time with people so that they don't go home. So while this is happening and while people are trying to make these connections happen, Mel first talks to Brandon. And I'm like, wow, they're actually kind of cute. I can see this relationship forming. It would be enjoyable. But then Julia pulls aside Brandon next and they kiss. But then, here's the thing, right? The producers have like this ominous tone, like, like it just is very disturbing to the ear. And I'm like, they don't want me to like this pairing. But I already don't like this pairing. So this makes me not even like this pairing even more. So then Ryan and Natasha talk, and they're cute or whatever. They're really cute. I love it. They are cute together. It was adorable. But then, because Rudy has been pushing aside Matt and now all she has is Ryan, she tries to pull something with Ryan, but she's like, nah, fam. That wasn't the move. I don't know why I did that. That's not me. That's not me. You understand? So they end up not working out. So then we have Cheyenne and Matt are talking, but they don't seem like they're that close. But the thing that sucks is that Cheyenne, man, Man, I wish we had more time with Cheyenne because I feel like she was actually a good person. Like everyone talks about how sweet she is and how kind she is, but we didn't even get to see her be that sweet or that kind. I just wish we saw more of her because we heard so much that she was so sweet and kind, and I wanted to see that. So now Rudy is now talking to Matt, even though we've had the whole issue from last episode. So she's talking to Matt now. They kind of had like this cute, teasy, flirty moment between them where it's back and forth, and I actually like it. They're a cute relationship. They're a cute couple. And now I'm gonna talk about the rose ceremony. Okay, we're at the rose ceremony, and I'm gonna talk about the order in which they were given. And I think this was a good order because they went from, I feel, most developed relationships to least developed. Because like if you know, you know. So there's no need in putting like the one who's most confused at the beginning. So the first one was Chris. Chris gives his rose to Bree, which is cute. The second one is Trevor. And he gives his rose to Jamie, of course. I'm not rooting for this relationship. They're basically the Mark and Jessica of this season. Did I say it? Did I say that? I did. I really did because it doesn't work, sweeties. No. The third one is Matt. Matt gives his rose to Rudy, and I'm like, ooh, guess they're going to pursue this and see what happens. The fourth one is Ryan, and I was so happy when he chose Natasha. I was like, yes, I like Ryan and I like Natasha, and now they're together. And I'm like, what's their name? Fratasha? Nyan? I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think their ship name should be. Danny gives his rose to Becca, and I was like, ooh, we haven't really seen them at all like develop their relationship, but they're solid, and I like that. Next 6, we have Brandon. Oh my gosh, this is Brandon, okay? And while we do this, we end up seeing that actually Julia has decided that she only wants Brandon. However, she hasn't told Sheridan that she only wants Brandon. She's just keeping that to her. And I'm like, you cannot keep that to yourself. You cannot lead Sheridan along and have him think that you only want him when you've just made up your mind that you want Brandon. So when Brandon picks Savannah, which I knew he was going to do, because what we see during the rose ceremony is Mel's talking about Brandon and Julia's talking about Brandon. And usually what happens is when people talk about something like, oh, we're supposed to be together, but Mel wasn't really forcing like, oh, we're perfect, we belong together, period. She was more like, I want to be with him. Whereas Julia was like, if he doesn't pick me, I'd be surprised. The moment someone like that is like cocky, that's the minute like you know they don't have it. Like the producers put that in, so you're like, haha, look at this person, they thought they were gonna get picked, and now Savannah has the rose. It just made sense to me. I was like, what are you talking about? So Savannah got the rose. And at this point, the only hope for Mel staying on is Gabe. I really wanted Mel to stay on. She was kind of cool. I really wish we got more time with her because she ends up leaving. But the next rose we have is Gabe, and he gives his rose to Ruby. Ruby is one of the girls who showed up last, Mariana and Ruby, so he gives it to Ruby. Before we get to the last rose, I need to backtrack and talk about Jamie and how annoying Jamie is. Okay, so when it's Ryan's choice and Ryan has to pick the rose, Jamie is like, I hope it's not Natasha. Please don't be Natasha. I was like, why do you hope it's not Natasha, honey? Why? Is it because Natasha exposed the guy you're with for being an emotional cheater and you don't want to accept that? Like, why, honey? Like, are you that insecure with your relationship with Trevor that you're going to find an issue with her being there just because she cleared your eyes and showed you that your man was an emotional cheater and has a history of that? No. I was like, you didn't pick Ryan, so let Ryan be happy. Don't be mad because you're in denial and you waver on your values between if it's okay to be with a cheater or if it's not okay to be with a cheater. Just, no, I don't like it. Also, when Matt is picking, Jamie is like, oh, Matt could be with someone like this person or he could be with that person. Like, but Rudy's just like challenging. And I'm like, what do you mean, Jamie? What do you mean challenging? Because you have some issues. Like the fact that you say dating, that you say being a cheater is a deal breaker, but then he tells you he's a cheater and you're like, oh my gosh, let's be together forever. Oh my gosh, why should we listen to her? Okay. The last pick is Sheridan, of course, and Sheridan, because he's only been here for Julia, picks Julia. And I don't want him to pick Julia, okay? I'd rather he pick Mel or someone else because Julia is not there for him, okay? You know, she's not there for you, bud. So after this happens, Julia kind of talks to Brandon, and Brandon's like, we need to talk. So it's kind of like they're saying that they can still have more time to figure out their relationship. And I was like, no, Brandon, you picked Savannah. And Julia, you accepted a rose from Sheridan. If you didn't want to be with Sheridan, you shouldn't have accepted that rose. If you didn't want to be with Savannah, you shouldn't have offered her that rose. And at this point, the people I don't like the most are Jamie and Julia. So I hope we see them promptly get exited. So I hope you enjoyed this breakdown. Join me for episode 3. I'm really excited to be doing this. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe, as well as click that bell notification so you don't miss out on when I post. The Book Lorette is out.